I would like to welcome you all to our monthly Meetup Baptist. Today, it's sponsored by the Australian Embassy. We are deeply grateful. This is the third time that they're supporting us. Australia has a huge tradition of social enterprise. Last month, the Brisbane hosted the Social Enterprise World Forum. So we are really delighted to have the embassy support here. With no ado, and very quickly, I'd like to introduce you for the opening remarks to the ambassador from Australia. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adanu, and thank you for the warm welcome. Hello, everybody. I'm Julia Niblett. For those of you I haven't met, I've met Tigist already, and Mikhail, who is where? Not here. I've met a few of you already, but thank you so much for coming. And can I just say what a great pleasure it is to be here tonight at this wonderful, warm, cosy venue. I think it's a great place for doing something that's called Meetup Addis. It's a really, really friendly, open and welcoming place. So thank you for hosting at such a great venue. Thank you to Social Enterprise Ethiopia for the work that you do. The Australian Embassy here at Addis Ababa is really happy. In fact, we're thrilled that we can sponsor these events. This is our third edition of Meetup Addis, and we're really happy that we've been able to continue to do this and to try and give some profile to the work that is done through Social Enterprise Ethiopia. And I'm particularly happy tonight to be able to come and talk a little bit about the work that we do to support a disability-inclusive society. There's a lot of strands to this particular area of social policy and work. And Australia is very proud to be able to share with you that we work very hard internationally in a number of different ways to promote a disability-inclusive society. We have, for example, we've crafted what we call disability inclusion in our development policy, but also we're very, very eager and quite active to play an important role internationally in international fora. So when I talk about working at the community level or at the government level or the international level, we do different things. One of the things we try and project is how important it is for people with disabilities to have the ability and the support to fully participate in all aspects of life in society, regardless of their disability, in order to achieve their full potential. We see disability and addressing disability fairly as enforcing a fundamental human right. It's not just about reaching potential and giving opportunities to people to contribute to society, but it's all about supporting the fundamental human right of people with a disability to be included. We also talk about how disability inclusion is very much a strong pillar of our development program. So when we talk about international development policy, it really means that we take action by funding and supporting programs and working with partners for those countries or regions where we have a development program to make sure that development activities are also seen through a disability inclusive lens. And that means sometimes funding specific programs or just making sure that whatever we do in the development area recognises the rights and the needs of people with disabilities. There's no point building schools or constructing health facilities if people are unable to access them because of their disability. So we want to make sure that there's a disability inclusive focus to everything that we do. We also, in Ethiopia in particular, have been very proud to support a number of organisations that have a strong focus on disability inclusion. One of the most well-known Australian organisations is the Fred Hollows Foundation. You may not have heard of it, but Fred Hollows Foundation has been going for 30 years. It's just celebrated its 30th anniversary, and it's worked in Ethiopia for 25 years, tackling the issue of avoidable blindness. And the surgeons and specialists that work for Fred Hollows Foundation have done a lot of work to educate people on how to tackle avoidable blindness through some of the health conditions that can occur here, but also reversing blindness by performing surgery on those people who suffer from cataracts or trachoma. So Fred Hollows Foundation has been present and active in Ethiopia for over 30 years, and they have great results. We also have been very proud to support the Ethiopian National Association of the Deaf, and I've seen firsthand the work that they do in making sure that there are education rights for people who are deaf, and importantly that they support deaf women and girls to make sure they're not exploited or discriminated against. And we found that was a real challenge during COVID, when there was quite an uptick in Ethiopia, as well as many other countries, in domestic violence against women and girls who are deaf. We also support the Nehemia Autism Centre. You may be familiar with their annual walk. I participated in the walk to raise funds and awareness for that autism centre, along with the Health Minister, Dr. Leah Tadessa, and I was very proud that we could support on a small scale the work of that centre. We also support Misrach, and we've done a lot of work with that organisation on education of people with disabilities. We not only do work at the community level, we also do work internationally. Some of you might be aware of some of the international organisations, the international fora that have been established to look at the rights of people with disabilities. Australia has been very, very energetic in promoting its candidates, its advocates, to take on roles in the UN Committee for the rights of persons with disabilities. And just recently in June, I think it was this year, our candidate Rosemary Kayes was re-elected for another term because the work that she was doing in that international forum was very much valued and supported by most countries who participate in that committee. We also work actively in the Human Rights Council to make sure the rights of people with disabilities are promoted and protected and respected. So at the community level and in our development program and in our international engagement, we're very proud to be promoting disability inclusiveness. So I'm very happy tonight to listen to Tigist and also to hear Mikias's experience in your work in disability inclusive employment. And I'm also keen to see how connections are made around the room. It's great to come to these events and to hear people speak, but the real value is talking to others who've had experience, who've got ideas, who can think about how we can innovate, who can share resources so that we can connect in a more robust and sustainable way to promote disability inclusiveness. I just want to mention one thing. The Australian Government also supports the Disability Inclusive Film Festival. This year's festival is going to be called Focus on Ability, and we're hoping to have it run in December. I'm not sure if I'll get an update on how those arrangements are proceeding, but we're very proud. We support this film festival every year, and we also support the International Human Rights Film Festival, the only one of its kind on the African continent. We're very happy to support that and take the opportunity once again to promote our commitment to valuing human rights. So thank you very much for hosting me and allowing me to come and share a little bit about what Australia does, and I hope we can get to connect some more in the course of the evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I just want to very quickly tell you about Social Enterprise Ethiopia Association within like 2 minutes. We're the only social enterprise association in the country. We're working on policy advocacy we're trying to get a registration for social entrepreneurs, a separate one from the normal business registration. We're also working on raising awareness. We have British Council has estimated 55,000 British social entrepreneurs in Ethiopia. So, and many of them don't know that they're social enterprises. I went to an event this morning, climate change event, and every single one of them were social enterprises. And so it's just trying to raise more and more awareness of our business model. Excuse me. And then the third thing that we do is we provide business capacity building for social enterprises, because a lot of them have a clear idea of what kind of purpose that they have, what kind of business they want to do, but they don't have the capacity, business capacity to do it. So we provide business capacity support. I think with that, I would like to finish, and I'd like to now introduce our next and our first speaker, Mikhail Mulugeta. I'd asked him to tell me something fun about his past or about his character, other than hanging around Nazit school. But from what I know of Mikhail, he's a very humble, very kind, compassionate person, and but he doesn't realize, I think, how dynamic he is. So I think you'll share my views once you hear him presenting his part.
My name is Mikias, and I'm the founder of Ideal Able. I'm also the executive director of Great. I'm also executive director of Focus on Ability Short Film Festival. So, as you can see, these films are made by different young people, and I just picked two of it from out of 76 films submitted to us. So the first one is made by me, and the second is made by an amazing group called Bahagar Lich. So our main aim was to create a new era of film to participate in the community of disability. So after I came up with the talk about how I joined this career, I want to introduce about myself. So I was born and raised in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, and so how many of you guys love watching films? Just raise your hands. Everyone, right? I guess you don't, right? Okay. So I have a big passion for film, and just one recommendation from you. One film. He's just shocked. I picked him. What about you?
A film about disability?
No, any film. Superman? That's great. What about Mr. Fasil? Okay. From young Aiden? Mission Impossible? Oh, great. So I am passionate about films, and I have hundreds of favorite films, but my top film is, my personality has been changed after watching one film. So growing up in a community where the young people love to play in a field, and all they want to have recreation, to have, forget about the education, forget about being the better person, right? You just want to play and to party, I don't know. So I was that kid when I grew up, and I grew up in the Kazanchis, pretty much on the center of Addis Ababa. So my main goal was growing up like most young people, having fun or anything. So my mother, I'm sure Mr. Fasil know, and most of you know, my mother is an artist, and my father also an artist. So she came from Gondar just to be a singer on her age, like 17 years old. And my father was a songwriter and a music producer. So he gave a lot of songs to Aster Aweke, Hamelmal, Fikr Addis, and many prominent singers. And his name is Mulgeta Melaku. So my mom went to the studio to make her first album when she was 19 years old, and unfortunately they made me, yeah, but after that they got married, So, so things go by, and I had the opportunity to meet many artists, many filmmakers, many musicians, I just can't believe. Aster Aweke came to our house, and Amelmal came to our house, and I was like, I brag around with my friends, anything. So it was a moment when I was 5, my dad died, and my mom had to continue, raising me. So he didn't have any job unless depending with my dad's income. He just say lyrics and produce music and get a lot of money. So after that, she was hired at Ethiopian National Theatre as a musician. So I grew up watching too many theaters and films, and I was really passionate about making films. And when she get back, her salary is 250 birr, only 250 birr, from Ethiopian National Theatre. So, lately we were talking with Mr. Fasil and with Ermias that the lifestyle, like 20 years ago, God, I'm old, 20 years ago, it was actually cheap, everything was cheap, but she paid actually 100 birr for my education, and the rest of 150, like 50 for renting and 100 for, aspeza and something. So the lifestyle was actually, like, I came from a poor lifestyle, At the moment, I was actually from rich family, that's those MTV cribs, like from artists and that background, and I came back to the life where I don't know, the poverty, life of poverty. So my mom went to nightclubs for additional jobs. So I had to stay 7 up to like 1 hour, I don't know how, 7 p.m. and 8 p.m. Local time, like waiting for her, So my only, I have no one else, so I had to watch too many films. So that made me, create my own character. So before I was born, they didn't name me Mikias. So my mom named me Mikias. Tadios, and my dad named me Mikias. So we guys, the main's world, right? So they picked Mikias. So I created this, just like Superman, right? Yeah, I don't actually like him. I'm really sorry. I created this superhero character. His name is Tadios. Right? So I always play with him. No one was to play with me at the moment, so I had to play with him. I had to take him to somewhere, to the malls. There is no mall actually. Who am I kidding? So it's somewhere, right? So by the end of the day, I grew up, being that Duruye person, like watching too many films, that personality, and so. After one film changes my whole perspective about life. So that would be Will Smith's and Jaden Smith's Pursuit of Happiness. I'm sure everyone saw that film, right? So I was 12 when I watched that film. It was about someone who's raising his kid, about surviving the hard life. And while I was watching that movie, my perspective was from Christopher, actually from the kid. So I was imagining and visualizing my mom's life. So I replaced Chris Gardner as my mom, So she has actually sacrificed a lot to raise me. So after that, I just joined, I just recreated myself to become a better person. So I didn't want to bring this whole story just to brag about my family, but I just really want to tell you the power of films. to change personalities, to change norms, to change beliefs. That's why I have joined the Focus on Ability Short Film Festival. So how much time did I left? I mean, how much time do I left? Because I need to speak a lot, actually, after this. 4 minutes. So within 4 minutes, I will explain how I joined the Focus on Ability. So I didn't have any clue about disability. As you would know, I didn't know anything about this. I didn't have any awareness. After I joined the university, I met someone who's blind, and his name is Tamrat. He's really amazing. You know, the film, the character who's, did you see the one who's playing Krar? It's not him. But I have assigned someone as him to play as him. So we have met, there's cafe and non-cafe in the university. I was from the non-cafe side. So I met him while he was waiting in the line, and he was actually hungry. So I just preferred if he want to eat lunch with me. So he came to me, and we have ate an amazing meal. So while I was trying to eat the food, I just take 3 gushas now, and I just get up. He's still praying, and he gave me a lot of lessons about how to become a better person, and about biblical stories. About we used to go to Aksum Tzion Mariam, the location you saw. So we sit there and talk a lot about things, and he made me produce this film with 150 birr. I just made this film with 150 birr because at first, I didn't have the power to talk in front of people like you, an amazing, beautiful people like you. But it has made me to speak up and want to collaborate with people. So I had to talk with the mayor of Aksum City, and they helped me to produce this film. And by the end, I have my first award was 8,000 birr, and I took this birr and give him this money because he was in really poor condition. So by the time I was about to graduate, he was actually a law student, and before we, saying bye or something, he told me to some lesson. He has told me some lesson on how to, survive, and how to also give respect to your God, to your elderly and stuff. Unfortunately, he died a year ago. A year after I graduated. So after that, my perception about disability have changed, and I have 1 minute left, and I have to speak a lot faster. I have sent this film to Australian Focus on Ability Short Film Festival, and I have won the first People Choice Award, and have been awarded $2,500. And I have put a proposal, and I've sent it to them to launch in Ethiopia. And it has been the second year since we launched the Focus on Ability Short Film Festival. And until now, we got 76 submissions. And many of them got an award, including $5,000 last year. And there's an upcoming event, I have 1 minute left, upcoming event at Skylight Hotel, awarding these films. We had an amazing festival by the last year at Hyatt Regency. Have you guys know Yirdaut Eno? So have you guys know about Guma, Lezza, or any award in Ethiopia? So, awards are always about something fancy, right? Luxuries. Someone having an amazing dress and having on a red carpet on something. So why not bring that luxurious and lifestyle and fanciness into this community? right? So that was our idea. So we bring up this festival at Hyatt Regency at last year and awarded Yirdaut Enau, Cheshire, Ethiopia for Best Advocate Award, Yirdaut Enau for Lifetime Achievement Award, and we also awarded Taki paper bucks. They are deaf, but they made some paper bucks, and they're really amazing. So the Best Entrepreneurs Award, just like that, we have created the first award in Ethiopia. Do I have? Thank you so much. I have a lot to talk. So after this, I will get you guys and talk more. So thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you so much, Mikhail. I think you would now all agree that he's very dynamic. I love the way he spoke about imagination, because we believe in potential. Social entrepreneurs generally believe in potential, and a lot of it comes through imagining things that people don't think, the boundaries, pushing boundaries. And so I just think it's wonderful that he was inspired by his, one, by the film, but secondly, by his encounter with his friend. Thank you so much, Mikhail. Can we please give another round of applause? Our next presenter is Tigist Hailu, Tigist Hailu, from Meadow Foundation. I asked her one question, and a friend of hers answered. Tigist is an accomplished opera singer. Yes, she's going to a rendition of Beethoven's or something. Okay.
You just make fun of me. I love opera, but I don't sing.
That's her pastime, but she runs the Meadow Foundation, and I think you're also starting with the film. Yes. Okay. Lights.
My name is Tigist. I have 3 children. I'm married. My first boy is 14. He lives with autism. So my journey, as you see it from the movie, I used to be a teacher, a kids teacher. Before I joined Ethiopian Airlines. I used to work Ethiopian Airlines for 14 years as a flight attendant, but before that, I used to be a kids teacher in one of private school in Addis Ababa. I usually play with kids. I love kids very much. And mostly, I focus on children with special needs. I don't know why. I think now, I have to move? Okay. So at that time, really in my class, I used to have special need kids, but I don't know whether it's autism, Down syndrome. I don't know the name and I don't know the diagnosis back then. But I really feel that those kids have a potential. So I usually communicate with my boss and then give them a chance, you know, to express themselves. Most of them don't have speech at all. Some of them doesn't want to sit with other kids. They don't socialize. But deep down, I knew that whether they are different or not, they have something special. So I give most attention to those kids rather than the typical ones. I think God was preparing at that time for me. So after I left that school, I became a flight attendant in Ethiopian Airlines, and then I got married. And then, I'm not saying it by chance, but my first boy was diagnosed with autism. He was different. When he was born, he just looked like a typical kid. My pregnancy was normal, but after 2 years, he starts regressing back. You know, he starts playing differently. He's very unique in some parts, and then simple things for kids might be difficult for him. So I have a doubt. I don't know about autism, but what I know is that he is different. So I took him to pediatricians in Addis, and most of them, they said, he's genius. Just leave him alone. He's just a boy. He will talk soon. But I knew that deep down, he's different, because the way he plays with toys, the way he communicates things, you know, he used to do puzzles very much. But the simple things like blowing a candle might be difficult for him. So I start telling the pediatrician that something is wrong. But nobody accept that part. So I used to work Ethiopian Airlines, so I used to have a chance to go out and see other places. So we went to Bangkok, and then they diagnosed him there. But in here, I forgot to mention, one neurologist saw him, and he said he he's autistic. So the chance to get a new life, like education and all those progresses, might not come. So he just tell me like this, and then I knew that there will be a way, and then I know he's going to speak. But he said, just to comfort me, I don't have to expect much from him. Not in a negative way, but the guy was trying to tell me unprofessionally that he cannot go anywhere. I have to accept the way he is, and I might not see progress in his life, not to expect. The way I see it now, he might give me a comfort, but it's not a good compliment at that time for me. But deep down, I knew that he's going to accomplish lots of things. So we went back to Bangkok, and then when they diagnosed him, they told me that he needs intervention. But in Ethiopia, there is no professional around this area, no occupational therapist, no speech therapy. So I told them that we don't have professionals here. So because I was a flight attendant, they told me to come every time so that I took trainings, therapies without my son. And then I go back and applying those things. Then he starts speaking words, a few words. Instead of communicating with shouting, he starts mentioning words, by flashcards, so many things. And then the biggest problem was school. Okay, he started communicating a little bit. He was not potty trained because for them it's very difficult. So we went to schools. They accepted him first, but in the mid-years, they told me he doesn't belong in here. So we refused. They refused us to accept in most schools. So after that, there's only one school they accepted him, but they said they don't have professional to help him on this area because they don't know about special needs. They told us to build a small house in the school so that he will learn with them, and then when he needs one-to-one session, then he will be there. So I still keep flying because I will get those chances when I go out. I just want to quit my job, but still I need those trainings. So I struggle with all those things so my whole life was like flying, going back, and then invest on my kid, and then going back to work like that. So at the end, I found one teacher. She doesn't know about special needs, but I invested on her so that she can help him at home while I'm out for work. So life goes on like this. Then at the end, he starts progressing, especially academically. He started catching lots of things, and they were amazed. And then he became one of the top students. Those behaviors, the challenge, all those communication problems were decreasing. And then after that, as a parent, we don't satisfy. I used to be a teacher, so I know how to teach kids, and I love to teach kids. But as a mother and as a teacher, it is difficult. So I decided to resign from my job and start homeschool at home, with my son. Not only academically, the social skills, how to dress himself, how to go to a shop and then ask to buy things. So we continue like this. It's been 5 years almost. I teach him at home. So the progress was very good. And then at the end, now this year, one school accepted him. Andinet School, they accepted him. Now he's a grade 8 student. So as a mother, I cannot say this because I knew there are lots of moms, very strong moms. Maybe it's time for me to speak in here, but there are lots of brave moms that I know. So all the materials that I used to help my son, when people came to my house, because as a mom, you don't fulfill. I'm still feel that I have to do a lot for him, as every mother. I'm not different, I'm not special. But I use my teaching skill to help my son. I'm not telling people to be a teacher because it is a difficult job. For example, my husband cannot teach our son in the way that I teach him, but he has his own way of helping him. So I decided to show the materials that I used to teach him to parents. So most people came to my house and, how did you teach this and that? For me, it's not a big thing as all moms, because for our kids we sacrifice. And then those ideas came, like sharing my experience to others, helping them. He's not sick, he's not cured, still he's 14. I only compare him with his progress, not with other kids. So me and my husband decided to open this foundation. She told me 2 minutes, but I'm not seeing her. Okay. So as you can see it on the film, we open our door. I love library. I used to go to different countries and then see open libraries, free libraries. So I used to buy lots of books. I said one day I'm going to open a library. So I use this library to allow those people to come to our house because it's a free library. So every community people came to our house to read books. So while I'm teaching him at home, the only thing that he loses is the social skill, because his sisters went to school. So at that time when they start coming to read books, he starts socializing with them. I create some games so that he can talk with them. So one of the reason that I opened the library is to allow the community to come and then show that anything is possible. Those kids really helped him, the typical ones. So with this progress, we continue, and then we open this event, the Autism Awareness event. Dr. Leah and the rest of the higher officials came, and they really appreciate the work that we did, me and my husband. So now what I will try to tell you guys is, in other countries they use or they allow them to participate in every way. Even in workplaces, they prefer people with special needs because they are honest, they are consistent, and if you give him some work, for example, for my son, he cannot live without finishing it. His sisters might leave, pretending as if they did it, but he is honest. If he did something wrong, he just came and tell you. So as a mom or as a parent, what I'm really worried about is that after he finished school, then what? Is he going to stay at home? Or did the community accept him the way he is? Will they use him, his skill, to participate his potential for others? That's the thing that I'm really worried this time. But I'm going to open this system, so that people will see really the potential rather than the disability. When I see my son, I don't see the autism. What I see is Nathan. Autism is just one part of him, not the whole part. This is what I believe, and I know there are lots of moms, strong moms. They didn't get a chance to speak, but with lots of problems, they are fighting these things. I used to blame my community. I was telling one of the people there, I used to blame the community. When we go to church, when he starts shouting and lots of things, I used to cry. I was not strong like this, But God, those people, am I really, do I have to explain everything for them? Why don't they accept the way he is? Still, the people think that it's a spirit. as I mentioned you, I used to blame the community. But when I see this part, when we open the library, and then when we allow, and then when we aware our community are so helpful. I cannot judge this time, because I know and I see, if we are aware what we have, I might be the one who judge a child if I didn't know about autism, because autism is quite different from Down syndrome. You cannot see their physical appearance and say that he is on impairment, or maybe he's in need of something, because you cannot see anything on their face or physical appearance. So it might take that he's a spoiled kid. But if we are aware, people start, helping. How can I help? So I used to give trainings for Ethiopian Airlines when they fly, because I used to go to those parents in the flights, how they frustrate because their kids are shouting, they cannot sit and fasten their seatbelts. I used to give trainings also for Ethiopian Airlines. I think they still use the system to give awareness. So at last, what I want to say is differently able people are not disabled. They have their own skills, potential. We have to help them so that they can fulfill what they have inside. Thank you so much. Because they were saying 5 minutes, 10 minutes out.
I'm so sorry. Tigger's story is very emotionally very connected to me, because one of my cousins is an autistic, and I know that his mother really tried to try and help him in a period where she found it difficult to get any help. So people like Theists are a beacon of light for my aunt and for my cousin, who, because he started later in the progress, has not as progressed as well as Tigger's son. Anyway, it's we are all differently able. We all have pain. We all have joy, and we also need to accept one another as different. And so I love your story, Tigist, and I think you've gone remarkably well, and I know what a sacrifice it is to actually leave your job, because that's one of the ways of getting knowledge and information, and to sacrifice that. So really, it's a very touching story, and I wish you well. They're both members of Social Enterprise, so they will connect. We'll continue connecting together. But again, please give another round of applause. I know that we're running relatively late, but I'd like to invite Mikhail for a 10-minute question and answer session. So if you could join Tigist, and we will limit it to 10 minutes. Three speakers. I've got somebody bullying me. Just 3 questions. So may I open the floor and ask anyone who'd like to ask a question of either of our panelists? Don't be shy. Okay, Betty, can I take number 2 and number 3? Anybody else who'd like to join Betty in asking a question?
If someone, or like a parent or a sister or a brother, if they saw their siblings or their family members struggle with this, like you said, you didn't know anything at first, but like as time grew, the progress keeps growing, and then you started noticing a little stuffs that your son is struggling with. So how come you make aware? Because in Addis Ababa, you get to have the internet or the people around you, or people who work with you, who have a little bit understanding of what's autism or what's central. Okay, I'm sorry about that. So what if in another countries or in other cities, this kind of progress, how do we fix it? Or how do we educate our countries or our societies with these things? Thank you.
So first of all, thank you for the very inspiring work that you both do. So we are actually visiting from Kenya, and we work in the childcare services, where we have an intervention model where we help children in informal settlements. And one of the things that we are focusing a lot on is very much what you're doing, Secrets, around spreading education. And so maybe not so much a question, more a suggestion, because what we're seeing as being very impactful is on the entire e-learning side. And with the amazing video skills of, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce your name, Michaelis, and with the amazing work that you do in this very specific challenge, there's an opportunity to give those who don't have the strong skills, teaching skills that you do, with the video abilities, and then combine that together to really spread information. So it's more maybe a comment than a question, that there is a great opportunity, and especially with the evolution and adoption of technology, we are, at least in Kenya, seeing that there is a tremendous opportunity to spread information to those who cannot readily get it. So maybe more a comment than a question.
I think the first question is also about diagnose. The lady asked me with the eyeglass. It's almost like a diagnose, right? As a parent now, internet, Google, we can find out the red flags. But to make sure, it might be a wrong diagnosis, so going to the professionals might be a good reason, because we might not get a chance to go out for further diagnosis. So it's better now these days than back in 14 years back. So when we raise kids, when things are getting out of the way, we can see the red flags. For example, if they don't speak on time, and then if they are not socializing with other kids, we will be concerned, right? So we went to professionals to get a confirmation. That will be a best thing to do, because early intervention is the best. But the problem is, after they diagnose, they might not refer you to some places, because Nafsanimar Wayzaro Zami was the first one who broke this stigma. So the center still, we have to support. Ermias is here because it has also the diagnostic center, Adel, yes. So those things has to continue, and then it will accommodate most parents on this area, because the places that we have and the growing number is not even close. ስለዚህ what I was mentioning or suggesting is, when we see those signs, then it's better to advise, even if it's a wrong diagnosis, it's better to suggest those parents to take their kids to a professional, so that at least if they get a clue, then they know what to do. Because these days we can refer books, we have internet, we have Googles, we have moms. At that time I didn't have anyone to talk to, because lately I knew lately, because I didn't know. At that time I closed my door, I start crying, because I could not say those things, because I was still confused, because he was a typical kid and then he just regress. So I don't know what to do at that time. But this time most parents are lucky, because we can speak to each other. So I think that's the better thing to do. A suggestion and a question about education. I'm open to share all my experience, and I would love also to learn new things from others as well. But most of the things that I use for Nathan, I didn't learn about his special education first. You know, I just see him, his strengths, and then I use those skills to help him. You know, he's good in colors, he's good in numbers. So I use everything to teach him about colors, for example. He doesn't, for example, he refused to tie his shoes on the shoe part. So I use colors as you see it on the movie because he loves color. He's fascinated with colors. Really, it fascinated him, those colors. So I use colors to teach him maths, even to the skills, the life skills. So we usually take those strengths part and then use the area of their improvement. So I'm open to share mine, and then I'm willing to accept other systems also, because most of the things I use the trial and errors to apply it on my son. If it doesn't work, I use other strategies, because I knew deep down he has to know. I'm the one who doesn't know his way of learning. I'm not saying he cannot do this. I say to myself, I didn't get his idea. Also, I usually follow his strengths rather than saying to myself that he cannot do this. Maths, for example, it takes a lot of months and years to understand the concept of adding maths, but now he can. Because I use his method to teach him maths. But at first, I didn't know how he understands those things. So I would love to experience your way also, and then I'm open also to share my experience. Thank you.
No, nothing.
Okay.
Questions, but you can ask them. There's a networking reception now, so you can ask them one-to-one. I'd like to close this part of the program, but I'd like to just say that sometimes on diagnosis, I know somebody, even in the States, who has not only autism, she also has Asperger's syndrome. So her mother had trouble trying to get a diagnosis for her illness. So it's not always very straightforward. But the main thing is, I think that we all, it's about working with the strengths of these children who become adults, and then who hopefully will be able to live normal lives with support. So champions like both Tigist and Mikhail help us understand the other. We are really truly grateful to you both. Can I please ask you for one more time? Thank you.